it's Emily from Nobel Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my June wrap-up part 2. Now I'm going to start off with some figures and then we'll talk about the books, and I've got some other few little bits of tidbits of information for you. So, I read a total of 30 books this month, which has surprised me. Admittedly, 2 of them are audio books and a few of them are short books, but I didn't expect to get to 30 this month, especially as the first half of the month I found it hard to get on with it and read. I found some really hard-hitting books this month. But I've read a total of 10,481 book pages, and my TBR count, unread count for the month is 354 books, because I did go on a bit of a spending spree and a bit of a buying spree last month. Also, by the way, not all of those books have been bought. Some of them have been given. I've had quite a few gifts, which you would have seen in my favourites video. So now, shall I talk about the genres? I'm going to start off with the genres that I've read the least, and going up to my top genre. Now, I will say already is that the chick lit number will be less, because previously I've included in the chick lit area chick lit, fiction and contemporary. This time I've done it as 2 separate categories, chick lit and then contemporary. Contemporary does contain general fiction, but it's the ones that aren't really girly chick lit. So that's why that number's a bit different this month. But I'll start off with the first one. I only read 1 thriller this month, which didn't surprise me because it's not really been the right kind of book for me at the moment. It's not really what I needed. My head couldn't contain being scared or anything like that this month. I'm feeling a bit fragile. I've read 2 fantasy, which has been a surprise. I didn't think I'd like fantasy, but those friends of you out there who've got me reading them, I now absolutely am really, really enjoying them. And it's something that's challenging me, very different from what I thought I would like, but something that's really been enjoyable this month and really been perfect. So they've actually got quite nice star ratings, those books this month. Read 3 classics. Again, that's a nice number. Not too many, not too few. And going forward, obviously, getting ready for Jane Austen July, where I'll be reading a lot of classics. It's fine. It's not too bad. 3 chick lits, but like I said, they've been alright. Been alright. They've done their job. Definitely done their job, but I've not read as good a chick lits this month, in my opinion. 4 non-fiction. Perfect. Not too many. Again, not too little. Really happy with that. I've read some really good ones and I can't wait to show you them. 4 YA middle grade. Again, a very nice number. Not too high, not too low. Really mixing in. 5 contemporary. Now, they have been very different. Some have been very good, some not so good. And then my top genre for the month is historical fiction. I've read 7 historical fiction, and they have been perfect for what I've needed this month. They've been from different historical eras, different locations, but perfect for what I needed. You guys know that history helps me settle. It just reminds me of strength that's happened in the previous times, and right now it's strengthening, which is what I need. So that's quite good. Now, going forward, I just want to let you know that I'm going to be having a break from BookTube in August. I'll still be watching some videos, don't get me wrong, but in August my priority is going to be my children. You'll see my wrap-up and favourites at the start of the month, and I may put a TBR up at the end of the month. But I'm going to be fully active on Instagram, so don't worry. You'll see what I'm reading on there. You can check out my Goodreads page. But I'm going to have a break from BookTube and from Twitter, certainly for that month, and we'll go forward from there. Right now, my kids need to be my priority. My mental health needs to be my priority. And I'm struggling to think of ingenious ideas for my channel, and right now it's not as enjoyable as it could be. And I don't want it to be like that. I love BookTube. I love talking about my books. But I think having a month off is going to certainly give me time to really think and focus on my children. It's my last 6 weeks with Mia before she goes back to school, and I really want to give my children the best summer they can have. With everything that's happened with COVID-19, they have really had different battles of their own, and I think it's the children that have suffered. So I really want to make sure that I am going to give them the best summer I can do, obviously within the guidances. But I'm going to take them to parks, I'm going to take them places that they've not been. I'm going to really give them the best summer they can have, and I want to make so many memories with them, and they deserve it. And I think to help them, I need to be focused more. I'm still going to read, I'm still going to do a lot of reading. I've got some good buddy reads ahead of it, already planned for it, but they need to be my priority. And going forward, my mental health needs to be my priority as well. So both of which were at that. I just wanted to let you know. Like I said, I am going to be on Instagram. Please feel free to check me out on there. You will see all my reviews. I'll put all my Goodreads reviews I will be doing they'll go straight to Instagram, and I'll be going back to what I started off with, which was Bookstagram. So I'm going to go back there for a little bit and have some fun on that. So anyway, enough rambling. Shall I get on with the books? I did do one DNF this month, which was Captain Corelli's Mandolin. I read about 5 pages of it, and I hated it. It was boring, did not like it, did not enjoy the writing style. It was not for me whatsoever. So it's gone DNF, gone to the charity shop. They can have it. I don't want it. But I've had really, now as for the star ratings, it's been a real 50-50 month. I've got read 4 2-star books, 6 3-stars, that's 8, and then I've read 10 4-star books and 10 5-stars. So it's not completely, it's not been. I've read some of my best books, but not all of them have been great. So not what I wanted, didn't really. But hey ho, I've got some books off my shelf that needed to be shifted, and let's start talking about them. So first one, it was an extra book that I just thought I needed to clear off my shelves. Committed, a love story by Elizabeth Gilbert. I enjoyed Eat, Pray, Love. I gave this a 2-star. It was a non-fiction about marriage and about why people get married, and I did not get on with it. I found it too literal for someone who's engaged and would love to get married. Not really for me. Did not really. I don't know how I got through it. I rated it 2 stars. I think the fact that it was a short book, it was less than 300 pages, but it was a slog to get through it. Not what I enjoyed, and it's made me a bit nervous about the next Elizabeth Gilbert book that I've got on my shelves. If you guys have read her books, please feel free to let me know if they do get better than this non-fiction or not, because this wasn't for me at all. So bye-bye, charity shops can have that. Now, you guys remember, the last book I got on Bletchley Park, I rated it 2 stars. This one got exactly the same. I thought this was a historical fiction, chick-litty book on the women of Bletchley Park. But yes, it was on the women, but it was non-fiction. Again, I got quite bored. I read it because I didn't want to DNF it because I was being stubborn, but I didn't enjoy it. Yes, it's historical. Yes, what they did, the work they did there was amazing. Relationships got formed there. Women were amazing. They worked their butts off in this place, and they did so much good work. And I'm not decrying that. It's just the writing wasn't for me, and I don't really think I'll be reading any more books about that place because I feel like I've gained the knowledge I needed to gain on it, which I'm glad about. Positive, but it wasn't for me. It's going bye-byes. The next one I feel guilty about because it was translated fiction. It's a Japanese translated fiction, I believe, set in Tokyo. Please tell me I got the right location there because I'm not very good on that. It was weird. It is this one. Strange Weather in Tokyo. I gave it 2.5 stars because the ending was quite sweet and it was quite interesting. But this is basically about a student and her teacher who's 20 to 30 years older than her. And they get this weird sort of romancy thing. She dates some other guy in this as well a bit. They have a hesitant intimacy which is awkwardly poignant towards love. Did not get on with this. It was weird. It was so weird. Flew through it within about a day or so, so it obviously wasn't too bad. But it was really, really weird. But I have got a Murakami book, and I've heard that is a better translated fiction Japanese book, so I'm looking forward to reading that. But this one wasn't for me. Glad it was only 10p, because that's going back to the charity shop. Now I'm going to go on to my 3-star rates. First one was an audiobook that I only finished last night, and that was A God in Ruins by Kate Atkinson. It got 3 stars. I loved its predecessor. I love the book and I cannot remember the name of it, Life After Life or something like that. I cannot remember it, but that Life for Man, sorry, the other Kate Atkinson book, that got 4 or 5 stars. That was brilliant. And this was kind of a sequel because it was talking about her brother, the leading lady's brother, Teddy, in this book, and it was about his family and it was going backwards from the wartime and his childhood to his present and to him having a daughter and their family. It was alright, but it plodded along and it was quite boring, and it was just I still read it quicker than I thought, but it was not as good as the other one, Kate Atkinson's books, and it's put me a little bit nervous. So I don't know whether I'll listen to any more of her audiobooks or whether I'll try a physical book, because sometimes that can be very different, a physical book to an audiobook. We'll go forward on that. Second one I feel a bit guilty about. It was my chick lit of the month. It was Fly Away Home by Jennifer Weiner, whatever, I probably said that wrong. This was 3 stars. My sister Vicky gave it to me, my other sister, because Lisa Jewell likes it, so I thought, oh, Lisa Jewell likes it, it's going to be good. It was alright. If trouble strikes, there's no place like home. Very comfortable, 3 stars, very comfortable chick lit. Nothing wrong with it. The writing's lovely. It's very slow paced. It's about a woman and her 2 grown up daughters and how they're all having their own battles. They eventually go back to their summer house, and they meet up and they discover how troublesome their family lives are, and each woman is putting their lives back together. I think if they would have got to the beach house a bit sooner, I think it would have been a bit more interesting. It would have been a bit more good to find out about the relationship between the 3 women, but it wasn't quite as fast paced. I think I found it a bit slower than it was what I needed and what I thought it was going to be. Still quite good, still 3 stars, but Charity Shop can have that. But thank you, Vicky, for giving it to me. Not that I think she watches this. Another one that's 3 stars, which is this one, which is Going Dutch, Katie Ford. It was an extra book. I think that was an extra one. But I got this in a charity shop for £1. It was about love isn't plain sailing. This older lady is hiring a boat, is like borrowing a boat, like I think it's a barge or something, off of this friend of hers because she's just broken up with her husband, who's traded her for a younger model. Then the other lady is a friend of this lady's daughter, and she's just dumped her fiance and said, I don't want to get married, cancelled it all. And their friendship then develops and they both go down their own paths. You could see who's going to end up with who. That was kind of quite a predictable romance side of it. It was cute, but it was probably a bit longer than it needed to be, in my opinion. It was alright. It was like 400 pages though. For a chicklet, that was like a bit like it kind of dragged a bit longer. But it was still good. I still flew through it. But just 3 stars for me, nothing explosive. Now my thriller of the month, Sister Sister by Sue Bortin. This was interesting. This got 3.5 stars because it was borderline 4. Because it was Alice, beautiful and kind, very manipulative liar, and then they've got her sister Claire, intelligent, loyal, paranoid, jealous. Claire thinks Alice is a manipulative liar who's trying to steal her life. Alice thinks Claire is jealous of her long-lost return and place in the family. One of them is telling the truth. It was good. It was quite fast-paced. I kind of predicted the twist on this, who the baddie was, quite early on. Although there were some twists that I was not expecting at all. It was good thriller in the fact that you didn't see everything that was coming. But unfortunately, either I'm getting accustomed to thrillers and their twists, or this was just not as quite well crafted as I was hoping it was going to be, because I did see the big twist. So that was a bit annoying. But it's about sisters, about jealousies, about like loyalties with your partner, about how kids change your life as well. Very interesting. Makes you think about, as a parent, what your priorities need to be, and that part of it was good. But yeah, it was 3.5 stars. It was quite good. Glad I read it. Glad it's off the shelf though. Now my last 3.5 star was The Flower Seller by Linda Findlay. Judy from the Hungry Bookworm gave me this, and it is quite sweet. It's set in, here we go, 1892, so that sort of era. And start off with this lady. She is Isabella Carrington. She's quite rich at the start, but within a matter of pages or even a chapter, her father dies and she has to go and move in with her uncle in Devon, and her life completely changes. She goes from being this posh girl to being back in the country and having to find for herself a bit more, doing her everything. Whereas she's had servants and slaves do everything for her, she now has to do things for herself. She forms a lovely relationship with one of her cousins. Her uncle is hard but really soft inside. She's got a lovely auntie. It's interesting. It's interesting about how you need to... Looks can be deceiving, you know. You need to really get beyond that. And status isn't everything. Money isn't everything. Family is the key, which is, you guys know, is something very interesting to me. Love the flowers on the front. Love the purples. It's a cute book. Won't reread it, but it was definitely good. It was, again, you could tell who she was going to end up with. That was pretty obvious. You could tell there was some bad stuff going on, and you could tell that her mother had passed, and it was quite interesting to watch that form, but only 3.5 stars, so it was good. But thank you, Julie, for giving it to me. But now I go into what I class, when you go into the 4-star books, it's what I class as really good. I don't know which ones of these I'm going to keep. Probably not, because I like it. You saw I've been bulking up my shelves, so I don't know how many of these I'll actually keep. The first one is The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, I think. I heard about this from the lovely Linda, from Linda's World of Books, and it was fantasy. I didn't expect to like this as much. I was so nervous. It's the first in the series. Didn't know what to make of it, but I'm actually surprised how much I liked this. It was 4 stars, but cripes, it was good. It had me gripped. I really flew through it. The Reds are commoners ruled by the Silver Elite in possession of godlike superpowers, and a 16-year-old mare, a bred girl from the poverty-stricken stilts, nothing will change. But Mare possesses a deadly talent of her own, one that threatens to destroy the balance of power. The only thing was I could tell who the bad guy was on this pretty early on. I could tell who the goodie was, and you could kind of predict what was going to happen. It was a bit stupid because I read the preview for the next book before the end of this, so I kind of got a bit more of an idea of what was going to happen, which I shouldn't have done. Never ever read the preview for the next book in the series. It gives away what's going to happen at the end of this one, and that kind of ruined it a little bit for me. But it was still 4 stars. I will be looking for the other books in the charity shop. It was good. It really is about class and how money can affect you, and power like forces above that you don't expect. And there are characters in this you love, and there are characters in this you hate. And it's a really good book, and I'm really glad I read it. So 4 stars, but don't buy both. God, the charity shops are going to love me or hate me. I'm not quite sure which one yet. Now, the next one is one that my lovely sister Charlie's lent me. I am trying to read more books by Black authors and try and read more books on racism and race and things like that. And this is a short story collection. 21 writers explore what it means to be Black, Asian and minority ethnic in Britain today. This was really informative. It's 4 stars. It doesn't distract. It's not like it's a 4 stars is good, really good, and for non-fiction it is very good because normally I struggle with non-fiction. As with most short story collections, there are some that I related to more than others. It was so informative though. It did teach me a really lot and made me really rethink a lot of things that I think and a lot of things I take for granted. So I'm really glad I read this. Thank you so much, Charlie, for lending me this. And it's one that I would definitely recommend. There are some of these people that have written in this that I know about. So there's Sanjeev Bhaskar, Anita Rami, Mallory Blackman. God, I love Mallory Blackman books, so that's going to be really good. Zadie Smith. There are people that I really didn't realise how good it was going to be. Like the guy who was actually Himish Patel. He was actually in EastEnders, and as an actor, you don't even realise the kind of things that they go through and the battles he had to face. But I found that really interesting. 4 stars, one I definitely recommend, and right now it's a really good pickup, really informative and really educational read. So Charlie's going to have that one back. Now, on a very different note, we've got very different from that, The Woolworths Girls. It's a book that I'm keeping. It's set in Woolworths, which was a great shop. Any of you from England that are a bit older, not the younger ones, probably won't remember Woolworths. But growing up, Woolworths was a store that sold everything, especially pick and mix sweets, which sounds really silly that I remember that the most. But I absolutely love this. This is set in 1938, so just before the war comes out. And it's about 3 women that work at Woolworths and their friendships, and lovely seeing their developing romances. It's quite, I would say 4 stars because I stupidly read it later in a book later from the series. I'm now going back and reading it in order. But it is good. The ladies in this are so strong, and what they had to go through and being away from their families, there are bits where you cry because one woman loses her husband and one woman, just so many different battles, but it's so lovely, so heartwarming, and right now it was just what I needed. So lovely 4-star read. Just double checking I didn't write any 4.5. Now this one I read with a big group of us. I was supposed to be a co-host, but because of everything that's going on, I didn't really do a very good job of being a co-host. This is I Capture the Castle by Zadie Smith. It's a classic. Now I wasn't sure about this. Spoke to the girls, and I think it is really a classic because it's set. I think it's post World War II or pre World War II, around about that sort of time, and it's lovely. 4 stars, but it was good. It was Cassandra Mortmain lives with a Bohemian and impoverished family in a crumbling castle in the middle of nowhere. She records her life with her beautiful and bored sister Rose, her fadingly glamorous stepmother Topaz, her little brother Thomas, and her financially crippling father who's got where to block. God, her father does my head in. I literally want to smack him around the ear holes and tell him to grow a backbone and support his family. Could have killed him. Got really annoyed at him. I ended up loving Topaz, her stepmother, who I didn't expect to love at the start. Rose annoys me on and off. Cassandra, I think she's a bit of a silly. She does some silly things in this. You think, you stupid womble. Little brother's cute, Thomas. Obviously, got a good name, Thomas, my little boy's name. And then you've got this other character, Stephen, who's there, like, kind of like a servant who works for them, but gives them money. And he's lovely and he's sweet. And then there's these Americans that come in that you think, God, you stupid wallies. Didn't like the ending, though. The ending was not right for me. So it only got 4 stars. But it was good, and I am glad I read it. Now, the next one, I've got to sort out my books, is From the Wreck by Jane Rawson. So this is historical fiction / fantasy. I'm putting it as historical fiction. This is one that Simon from Savage Reads talks about, and he loved it. It's a short but sweet book. My sister loved it. It's got some really gruesome fantasy bits in this, but it's also got the good historical fiction. I really did enjoy it. 4 stars because I didn't like it as much, but that's because there are bits in this that I didn't like. But I'm really glad I read it. It's still 4 stars. I still enjoyed it. Set in 1859, so that's historical, different era of history, and it's set in Australia actually. Oh, I've got to check on my tick list. I need that goes in a different bit. And this is set in. They start off with this guy George, who's on a ship, and the ship gets shipwrecked, and something happens to him then, and it's really weird. It's really weird, dark stuff. I don't want to twist it, and it's following his life, and he ends up having kids and things that happen, but he's still left with a trauma from what happened on that ship, and he's trying to find the person it happened with. That was a bit dark and a bit spooky and a bit gruesome bits of it. There are some bits where I was like, ugh, but I did enjoy it. Thank you, Charlie, for lending it to me. Then the last 4 stars is one I've literally only just finished yesterday. 6-2 to Queens, Anne Boleyn. I'm really mixed on Anne Boleyn. I always thought she was one of my favourites and didn't get why she got beheaded. Now, I've also read The Other Boleyn Girl, which is a Philippa Gregory book. Again, this is fiction mixed with non-fiction. And I saw Anne in a not very nice light. And this really doesn't portray her very nicely at all. In fact, I think it does give her a quite harsh portrayal. I don't really think that she loved King Henry VIII. I think she did it to get place, whatever, to give herself stances. She got torn away from the one person she did love, and then her heart turned. It was almost like her heart turned black. But it was interesting seeing her background. There was a lot of issues, a lot of triggers from rape, sexual assault, and things that should not have happened. Obviously, they did happen back then. Women didn't have much rights. If a man wanted a deed, they got it done to them whether they liked it or not. And rape was really brushed under the carpet quite a lot. Her brother, Anne's brother George, is not portrayed very nicely in this either. And that was quite sad. There are bits that tie in with other books that I've read. I'm glad I read it after reading Catherine of Aragon. You need to read her first because you understand a bit more about why she did the things she did. But Anne Boleyn really did turn on Catherine, and she turned on Mary even. I thought that was quite hard. Anyone wishing anything bad happening on a child is just unforgivable. But it also tackles miscarriages, which are very heartbreaking. So that's something to be aware of going forward. But this is a good book. I'm definitely going to read the whole series, but I don't think I'll keep it as in keep them. But thank you very much to Julie for Hungry Book for giving this one as well. Definitely carrying on with the series. Definitely really enjoyed it. I've buddy read it with Elise from Elise Reads and Speaks, and I did enjoy it. But again, she found it a bit hard because they are portraying Anne so not very nicely. So that's quite interesting to talk about that. So now I go on to my 5-star. I've got 5 5-star that I'm going to talk about. But I'll start off with the audiobook, which was The Confession by Jessie Burton. My sister Charlie told me to get that on audiobook, and I loved it. It was historical fiction mixed with contemporary. Really, really good. And it starts off with a girl whose mum walked out when she was a baby, and her dad gives her a little glimpse, a little link into someone who knew her, the last person who saw her mother alive. And we then find out about her mother's history and about her connection with this other lady and about this girl trying to find out what happened to her mother. And you go flip from the past to present quite nicely, and you see them both developing. There is some twists and turns I didn't expect in it. It's a brilliant book. I definitely plan to read all of Jessie Burton's books, and I can't wait to, because to me it was a really good book and one I definitely recommend. So now I'm thinking, which book do I show you first? Quickly talk about the Chicklet. Second in the form of Mallory Towers. Going to read the whole book, and Mia's reading it, which is good because she can read it as part of her guided reading. She's reading the series, we're reading it together. Love the second form even more than I love the first form, and I'm loving even watching them on TV, which is a bit of my cheesy thing. 5 stars all the way. Okay, so I'll save the best till last. Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I got told that this second book in the series was better than the first. This got 5 stars. The one before it only got 4. This has got more sex, raunch and rabid stuff in it than ever. It's got violence, loads of sexual graphical content. How on earth this is why I don't know whether I'm just a prude. This is 5 stars all the way. Blooming love this. Read it with Linda from Linda's World of Books. We're reading the next one in August because I can't even wait any longer than that. It's that blooming good, and I will actually be keeping this. This is telling you how good it is. It's a massive book. Judy from Hungry Book gave me this as well. It is so friggin' chunky, but now I'm going to be collecting all of her books. I need to read this whole blooming series. I absolutely love this. I don't want to tell you too much about it because it is the second in the series, so it will give links into the first. But Freya has survived Amarantha's clutches to return to the Spring Court. Although she has new powers of the High Fae, her heart still remains human. And something happens, and she goes back to being with Tamlin, and then this guy, Rhysland, who is seen as a baddie in the first book, you get to see a different side of him, and he is a bit of a crush of mine. I actually find him really lovely. And it's bad boy turned, and it's so exciting, thrilling, loads of twists. You never know what's coming. I found myself reading more each day. Loved this book. Could not rave about it more. Blooming loved it. It's one of the top books of the month, and it's a series I am so excited by. Next one I've borrowed off Charlie. It's non-fiction, but it's poetry non-fiction. Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. OMG, it was 5 stars. It's one of my favourites for the whole month. It is a story, and it's written, oh my god, look at the copy. Charlie lent me this, and it is absolutely beautiful. You start off with it as her family tree. Jacqueline Woodson, it's her own story, and it's told so well. I can't believe it. I know Jacqueline Woodson's written another book, which I will probably try and buy even, because this one was so good. She says what it's like to grow up in the 1960s and 1970s in both South and the North of America. Raised in South Carolina and later in Brooklyn, Woodson often feels like a halfway home between the two houses. And it's about what it's like to be brown in a world full of white, and the racism back then, it was awful. Her family were from a different religion. I don't want to quote it wrong, but that also has a big part in it. And about your family and the way people look at you, and just family stuff. It's heartbreaking, but the way it's done in verse is just, I flew through it in about a day or so. It was so interesting, so fascinating. One of the best books of the month, and I wish I didn't have to give it back to Charlie. It's that good. I want to read it again. Now, the last book of the month that I want to show you, and a joint favourite for the month, which is Homefire by Camila Shanzi. OMG, it's one of my best books this month. Charlie warned me it was going to be hard-hitting. I found myself crying in so much of this book. It is so amazing. As long as they can remember, siblings Isma, Anika, Parvey have had nothing but each other, but darker, stronger forces will divide Parvey from his sisters and drive him to the other side of the world as he sets to fulfill the dark legacy of his Jadis father he never knew. You have different chapters, different sections in it through different characters. You get to see the different sides of terrorism. Terrorism is heartbreaking, but you often hear all about the victims of it, but you don't always hear about the terrorists, their families, and sometimes people don't, well, I'm not excusing them, but this guy here, he wanted to fulfill what his father was doing, and he got told his father had all these traumas done to him. That's why he feels like he's fighting for his father and fighting for his father's memory. But you find out there's so much more than that, and there are bits in this I cried, and it's about siblings as well, that loyalty and love, and it's amazing. It's heartbreaking, it's informative, it's thought-provoking, it's everything all in one book, and for a short book you have so many emotions in it. This is brilliant. I loved it. God, this is a long living wrap-up, by the way. And then finally, my other favourite of the month, which I spoke about in my last wrap up, is The 13th Tale. I've already spoken about it enough, but that has to go down as a joint favourite. Don't need to say any more. It was amazing. So, what have been your favourite books of the month? How's your reading month been? Please let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and not subscribed yet, ring on my ding-a-ling, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.